Hi, welcome to Linda's Take. Today I'm going to be doing the Excel Module 123 SAM Capstone Project 1A. It's the Ensight Healthcare Consultant's Capstone. So I've got my instructions already downloaded, and here is my starter document. Of course, you always have to enable editing on your document, and the first thing you want to do is do a save as, and make sure you remember where you save your document at so that you can turn it in later. So I have my file saved. You just need to change that 1 to a 2 at the end so that you can submit it later for grading. Again, make sure that your name is here in the author area, and I am ready to start working on the steps. So the first one is we need to go to the project status worksheet and unfreeze the first column. We don't need to have it frozen anymore. So I'm going to come down here in my workbook and select project status to open up that workbook. And to unfreeze something, you're just going to come up here to the View tab, and where you have freeze panes, we're going to unfreeze panes. It's as simple as it is to unfreeze it. In cell J1, so come over here to J1, we are going to enter a formula using the now function that will display today's date. So we're going to come up here to the Formulas tab, come to the date and time, and find the now function, and click OK, and it's going to enter in today's date. We want to apply the short date number format so that it only displays the date in the cell. So to do that, we're going to come up to the Home tab. Over here in our Numbers area, we're going to come down here and choose Short Date. In step 3, we need to format the worksheet title to use a consistent design throughout the workbook. So we're going to go to cell B2 right here. Select, make cell B2 your active cell. And we want it to fill with a dark red, accent 6, lighter 40%. So up here we have our fill color. We're going to select it. We want the dark red, accent 6. So clear over here to the right, and we want lighter 40%. So it's the third one down here. We are going to change the font color to white. So right here's our font color. We're going to change that to white. Then we're going to merge and center cells B2 through H2. So we're going to select B2, scroll over to H2, and merge and center. Then we're going to use AutoFit to resize row 2. So we've resized the columns before just by going to the border between the columns. Do the same thing with the rows. We're going to go to the border between row 2 and 3, double click, and that's going to auto fit our row heights. Step 4, we want to format the billing rate data as follows to suit the design of the worksheet and make the data easier to understand. So in cell I2, let's come here to I2, we want to italicize that. So click on italicize. We want to apply the currency number format to J2. So we come here to J2, and we want the currency. So right up here, we've got our number format. Third one down is currency. So we have a $sign, so people know that that is a dollar amount in that cell. In step 5, we're going to format the data in cell A4 to display all of the text. So right here, we're going to make A4 our active cell by selecting it first. We're going to merge the cells in range A4 to A13. So the first thing you have to do is select that range. Once you have that range selected, we're going to come up here and merge and center. We want to rotate that text so that the text reads from top to bottom. So right here we have our rotate orientation here, and we want to rotate the text up. So we're going to select that fourth one down there. Then we're going to middle align and center the text. So right here in alignment, we have our middle align, and it's already centered. So we've middle aligned and centered. We want to remove the border. So we're going to come over here to our border area and say no border. And then we're going to resize column A to a width of 4.0. So I'm just going to come up here between A and B and click and hold down with my left mouse button and then drag over till it gets 4.0. Step 6 tells us to format the data in row 4 to show that it contains column headings. To do that first, we're going to go to our row 4 and we're going to change description here in C4, and we want that to be service description instead of just description. We want to apply the accent 6 cell style to the range B4 through H4. So the first thing we have to do is select that range B4 to H4. Then up here in our styles grouping, click on the more box, and we are going to find accent 6. Select that. Then we want to auto fit to resize column D to best fit. So right here, I'm just going to click off of that range, come up to the border between column D and E, and double click to resize that column to auto fit. In step 7, we want to include the actual dollar amount of the services performed in column E. So in E5, we're going to enter a formula without using a function that multiplies the actual hours in cell D5 by the billing rate, which we find in cell J2, to determine the actual dollar amount charged for general admissions, general administrative services. We need to include an absolute cell reference to cell J2 in the formula. Remember, an absolute cell reference means that when you copy that formula to a different cell, it's always absolutely going to refer back to that particular cell. First thing we have to do in Excel is hit the equals key. So I've got equals, and I want D5. So I'm just going to click here in D5, times, which is Shift 8, J2. To make J2 absolute value on my function keys on my keyboard, I'm going to hit the F4, and that's going to put the dollar sign in front of the J and a dollar sign in front of the 2 to tell Excel this is an absolute cell reference. Click on the check mark up here to enter that into my cell. Now I'm going to use the fill handle to copy this down to E13. So I have it copied all the way down. We are going to format the range E6 to E13, the comma formatting. So I'm going to come up here to my numbers grouping and click on the comma style. It's actually supposed to be only E6. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit the undo button, and then I'm going to select E6 through E13, and I'm going to make that the comma, and I want no decimal places. So up here in my number grouping, I need to decrease the decimal 2 times to get rid of the decimal in those areas. So in G5, we want to show how much is remaining after the services are performed. So to do that, we're going to hit the equal key, and we're going to take our estimated amount, which is F5, minus what's actually been billed, and then hit enter. We're going to then copy that formula down to G13. Then we're going to take the range G13 to, or G6 to G13, make that comma, and get rid of the dollar signs. In H5, I am going to show how much is left as a percentage of the actual amount. So to do that, I'm going to make H5 my active cell. I'm going to enter a formula starting with the equal symbol, and I'm going to divide G5 by F5. So G5 divided by F5. Then I'm going to copy it down to H13. In D14, I want to display a formula using the sum function. So to do that, up here on the Home tab, I have the auto sum. I'm going to select that. Make sure that my range is correct, D5 to D13. Going to select the check mark up here. Then I'm going to use the fill handle to copy this over to G14. My undo button here. Make sure I copy this over to G14. I want to apply the accounting number format with no decimal places to the range E14 to G14. So I'm going to select that, choose accounting, and make it no decimal places. We want to use conditional formatting to show the services that's been billed more than the full estimated amount. So we're first going to select the range H5, H13. Up here on the Home tab, we have conditional formatting, so we will select that. We want to use the highlight cell rules to format values less than 1%. So we're going to go less than, and we want to choose 1, and we want to fill that with light red fill with dark red text. We want those to stand out. On step 12, we've imported data about the consultants working on the Everett Hospital project and stored the data in a separate worksheet. We want to include that data in the project status worksheet. So we're going to copy and paste some data. So we're going to go to the Consultants worksheet. So we're going to select our Consultants tab down here at the bottom. And we're going to copy the data in the range B2 through G12. So I'm going to select B2 down to G12, and I'm going to copy that data. I'm going to return to the project status worksheet, and I'm going to paste this data in cell J3. So I'm going to come over here to J3, and I'm going to paste it, and I want to keep the source formatting. So I want the values and the source formatting, and then I'm going to say OK. So now I need to list the role for each consultant. Those with 4 or more years of experience are going to take the lead role. Otherwise, they take the associate role. So to do this, we are going to use the if function to test whether the number of years of experience is greater than or equal to 4. So on our project status worksheet, we're going to go to cell N5. So right here, we've got N5. And we are going to enter an if formula. So up on our formulas tab, we're going to go to logical, and we want if. So our logical test is if M5 is greater than or equal to 4. If that is true, then we want it to display lead. If that is a false statement, we want it to display associate. So if their years of consultants, if it's greater than 4, it's going to be lead. If it's less than 4, it's going to be associate. but we've entered in the if formula to do that automatically for us. So now we're going to say OK. Now I'm going to copy N5 down to N13, and we want to make sure that we paste the formula only. So we're going to fill without formatting. That way we still have this border on N13. Now we're going to autofit column N by double-clicking on the border between N and O. And now in step 14, we're going to go to cell D16 and enter a formula that uses the average function to display the average years of experience. So we're going to come down here to D16. We're going to come up here to the editing grouping, choose average, only we want the average to be the years of experience. So that's going to be the range M5 through M13. So make sure you select the correct range for that. And then I'm just going to hit the check mark. So our average years of experience is 4 point. In step 15, we are going to make the 3D clustered column chart a little easier to interpret. First thing we're going to do is select our chart. When we do that, we now have our chart design and chart formatting tab. We are going to change the chart type. So we come over here on the chart design, change chart type. We are going to change it to a clustered bar chart. So we'll come over here to recommended charts, go to bar, and we want clustered bar, and click OK. We want to use the actual project hours as the chart title. So we're going to click up here in the chart title and add actual project into our chart title so that it reads actual project hours. We want to add a horizontal axis title to the chart. So up here under Add Chart Element, we're going to choose Axes Titles. We want primary horizontal. We want that to be hours. And we want to add data labels. Click off of that Axes title. Come back to the Add Chart Elements. Choose Data Labels. And we want them in the center of each bar. We want to delete row 33 since we've already reformatted it. So I'm going to select row 33, right click, and then delete to get rid of that whole row. Now we're going to go to the schedule worksheet. First thing we need to do is select the schedule worksheet. We are going to rename it. So I'm going to right click on the tab, rename, and we are going to rename it Project Schedule. And each service starts on a different date because the services depend on each other. So we are going to enter some formulas that are going to automatically figure the dates for us. So in D6, so we're going to select D6, we want a formula that adds 4 days to the value in C6. So to do that, we're going to hit the equal key. So we're going to equal C6 plus 4, and then hit enter. In E6, so I'm going to click E6 here, we want to subtract 3 days from C6. So I'm going to equals C6 minus 3, then enter. And then in F6, I want a formula that adds 2 days to the value of E6. So I'm going to put equals E6 plus 2, and then enter. And then in G6, I want to add 2 days to C6. So I'm going to put equals C6 plus 2. So it's going to figure out my dates for me. I don't have to pull out a calendar. So now I'm going to copy my formula in D6 down to D9. E6, I'm going to copy down to E9. F6, I'm going to copy down to F9. And in G6, I'm going to copy down to G9. So if my dates change over here, they're going to automatically update in the rest of my table. In C11, we want to enter a formula that uses the minimum function to find the earliest date in my project schedule. So up here in my editing group on my home tab, I'm going to click on this arrow by AutoSum. I'm going to choose min, and I'm going to choose the range C6 through G9. That's going to find my start date. I'm going to hit enter. And then in C12, I'm going to do the same thing, but only I'm going to use the maximum to find what my completion date's going to be. So up here in the AutoSum area, I'm going to choose max, and I want the range C6 through G9, and then enter to find my completion date. So now we're ready to save. Once you have it finished and you've submitted it for grading, I received a 98 out of 100, and that is because in step 9, I needed to copy the formula down to H14. And so if I come down here to my project status worksheet, see I only copied it down to H13. So I can open up my original document, go back in, copy this down to H14, make sure I fill it with formatting, or fill without formatting. I want to make that a percentage, save it, and resubmit it, and you should get full points. Hopefully this has helped you with your capstone assignment. Have a great evening.